Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the Makona Man at YouTube with another modelling video. Now you'll be wondering why I've got this picture of these fellas with very frilly clothing. They are 15th century Landsknecht German mercenaries, and I will be reviewing and building the 1/144 high-grade Ironblood Orphans Barbatos. For some reason, this mobile suit reminds me of the kit that these mercenaries used to wear, and shall be the inspiration for this build. Also, interestingly enough, throughout the snapping build stage of this kit, I was in Japan, in various states of intoxication, mostly riding on the train for a very long period of time or sobering up in the hotel room in the morning. And it was just something to do for a few hours here and there. But I still retain enough cognitive knowledge and memory to see how this went with some basic opinions. Scale modelling and being intoxicated, unless you know what you're doing, is not a very good mix. Regardless, this kit comes with 7 coloured ABS styrene runners, one of them being polycaps. The instructions are extremely clear, mostly coloured, and follows the same linear manner that instructions have in the past. Interestingly enough, at the beginning, areas that may be issues during the test building where you can crush polycaps and create large seams, it shows you some faults or warnings to avoid while building this kit. It's much highly appreciated and would be very helpful for beginners and casual hobbyists. The high grade line is more or less the bread and butter of the Gunpla hobby range of model kits, and normally where the best and most interesting newest technologies that they roll out appear. And every time that a new line of high grades come out, we talk about, you know, the lines blurring between that and master grades. I think master grades at this point is quite obsolete and doesn't really hold up a candle anymore. We started off with an inner frame, very, very basic, mostly for articulation purposes and colour separation rather than having the play value of an interest of an inner frame. The armour clicks on the outer sections and sort of just builds up from this stick figure to a fully fleshed out armoured kit. Now, this is really interesting, excluding the whole real grade whatever line. I find this to be really appealing. A lot of the seam lines is focused in the inner frame section and mostly covered by the outer plating and armour. Clicks all together very nice. Amazingly easy for painting, modifying and building. I really like this. I hope future kits go down this road. It's also streamlined how a lot of the polycaps are interchangeable and modifications are quite easy going back from the Build Fighters range. And just the sheer detail of the pistons and whatnot from the inner frame and interlocking with the outer armour. Really enjoyed this kit. It was a lot of fun. The detail is great. It is a bit fidgety and quite weak in some joints that has potential of breaking. If you are careful, this kit can be very rewarding. There was a lot of parts, a bit too many for painting, not a problem. Seam lines and faults, very easy to sand off. The only modification I did was remove the markings on the shoulders and knees. Paintings were all done in lacquers. I did do a lot of masking for this two-tone colour scheme, including shading. I also bought the Space Aftermarket set to have the mobile worker. That came together quite nice and is a cute and very small, lovely little build. A great little addition for dioramas. Is very worthwhile with the little details to pick them out with some hand painting, and a sludge wash or a ink panel wash is much preferred over the Gundam markers with this particular kit. As the colour scheme, posing and feel of it is very medieval, and I'm definitely going from something that's highly inspired from the Warhammer Wargaming universe, a two-tone colour Landsknecht theme. I decided to print out and cut out some very small hexagon bases, about 13 mil in diameter, or 20, I can't quite remember. Large amount were printed out. They were glued on top of each other and stuck on a styrene board, multi-leveled. They were puttied up, sanded up, and using traditional diorama making methods to contextualize the surface, and using PVA glue, pebbles and rocks to make an interesting scenery. And this is the conclusion to my build. Fairly out of the box, very plain, yet with the right painting, weathering and shading, can look quite dynamic. The painting process include Tamiya primer, grey, applied via airbrush, and I painted all of the yellow areas starting at a brown from the lowest point, working up from a yellow to a very light yellow at the top. Once that was top coated with a gloss and allowed to dry and harden for a week, Tamiya tape was used to mask off half of all the pieces, followed by all the red sections being painted, again shading from a dark oxidized red-brown color all the way to a lighter pink for the final highlights. Again, this gives a lot of definition. Once fully dried and hardened, the metallic areas were painted gunmetal with highlights of silver. Everything was coated in future floor and given a black sludge wash. I had a lot of fun shading and getting the color shadowing and angles right on the very large mace. At the very bottom is practically all black, and the top almost all silver. A lot of good fun. All the pipe work was painted in lacquer bronze, and they were also pin washed. The assembly process was quite easygoing and straightforward. As everything was in pieces, the peg holes were slightly widened with a knife, and everything was clicked or snapped together with a bit of PVA glue outlining the rims just to hold all the pieces together permanently. The kit was placed in its final position. The little mobile worker, the same process, and was painted around the same time as the kit itself. Very, very straightforward. The base was airbrushed multiple tones of dark to light brown and flock applied on top. My video tutorial on Tamiya texture paint sort of covers a lot of the work done on that. Shaded the side of the base as well as used nail polish for an interesting glitter effect, which was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with this model, painting and building. I loved the separation, the detail, the proportions. It's very interesting. And visualizing the correct way that I want to do the colors just came out absolutely perfect. I am extremely and super pleased how this model came out as per how I imagined it in my head. So I'm starting to get a bit good at that, but don't want to get too full of myself. This model was built a part of the Gunpla Builders Australia Barbatos group build. Even though it didn't place, I feel that it definitely held itself up there with the top and leading models. It's group builds are a lot of fun to do, and if you're a part of a community or club that does them, they're great fun to participate, and sort of pushes you to finish your model at a certain dead time while trying to keep a standard at mind. All in all, really enjoying the Iron Blood Orphans series and line of models. I have picked up a few extra kits and do plan on building them, so stay tuned to see a couple of more of those, but I need to go back and flesh out and snap together some of the HGUC and Build Fighters kits I've got floating around, so that might be a bit slow and staggering. Though, thank you very much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay tuned for similar caliber videos, builds, as well as tutorials and other content. I'm always reading and replying to comments. Happy to answer any questions. And put a shout out if you guys got any requests. Thanks, guys, and catch you all later.